What is going on, everybody? So I'm really excited today. Today we're going to a customer's house who has a bad case of vermetid snails, right? That's not why I'm excited. I'm excited because I hate vermetid snails. I want to kill these suckers really, really bad. And I'm finally armed with a new weapon to hopefully eradicate all of the vermetid snails in this aquarium. Now, usually in the past, if you get a vermetid snail, you kind of take your finger and you just pop it off, or people will use glue to like close up the hole or whatever, but none of it's really effective. I know some people add bumblebee snails, but then when you add bumblebee snails, they eat other snails. And the bumblebee snails don't always go after the vermetid snails. There's a lot of times we put a ton of bumblebee snails into a tank and it hasn't worked. We are armed with a new solution and I cannot wait to show you guys. I'm really excited. All right, so here is the fish tank and it is beautiful. First glance, it looks great. Coralline algae growth. All the corals are doing really, really well. You can see we got some zoas, we got different softies, LPS. I think we have yet to get some SPS in this tank, but you can see the hammer coral, the gold hammer is doing great. The zoas are spreading like crazy. Toadstool looks good, and anemones are all doing well. Like from first glance, you would think, wow, this tank is coming along nicely. It just needs to be filled out with some coral. But unfortunately, you can see right there that chalice coral is dying or is almost dead. And that is because there is a bunch of vermetid snails that camped out, claimed real estate there, and have just completely wiped out that chalice coral, which is pretty crazy and surprising to me. The anemones are fine by it. The anemones obviously aren't affected too much, but if we look closely, you can just see all over this tank, there's just thousands, and I legit mean like probably thousands of vermetid snails throughout this whole aquarium. It's hard to see from first glance, but when you really look closely, there's nothing but these little vermetid snails poking out of the rockwork. That's probably the most invasive thing that's in this tank right now. There's nothing else besides the bubble algae that is I think to be concerned with as of now. Just these vermetid snails, and they are starting to really, their sting is starting to really pack a punch. So they irritated this chalice coral. They potentially could go after that Duncan coral and irritate it. I've seen that happen before. The pally seem to do decent against them. Though this pally is getting hit a little bit and some of the polyps are closed, but they still look really good for the most part. The pally seem to be able to handle the sting a little bit better. These, I think these are what, these mohawks or hollyberries? I don't even know what those are. Those seem to be doing much better, but we lost this other chalice coral over here, was just covered with vermetid snails getting stung. And if you, let's see what else we got here. All through the rock. I'm worried about them going on the Euphyllia coral, the hammer coral, but if anybody's ever got a hammer coral before, knows that a lot of times with those hammer corals come with vermetid snails on like the skeleton of the coral. A lot of times that's where vermetid snails like to camp out, is right there on the skeleton of the like frog spawns, hammers, and things like that. So they seem to be able to deal with the vermetid snails just fine. But some of your encrusting corals don't do as well, and it seems like zoas are really sensitive to vermetid snails. And you can see over here, there's a ton of them. They just look ugly. So this will be my first time using this. I'm really excited. Deworming flake food. Like, what? Deworming flake food? Okay, all right, let's give it a go. We've never used this product before, but it's basically got fenbendazole in it, which is a dewormer. That's the #1 active ingredient in here. We're gonna be chumming the water with this. We're gonna break it down to just little bitty pieces, enough to where that they can catch that, the vermetid snails can catch that and their little slime, whatever that is, and bring it in and hopefully trick them into eating it and dying. So here goes nothing. This should be fun. Again, this is a little trick that we're trying out. We've never really never had anything like this available, so I'm excited. And all right, let's go inside and let's mix up some deworming flake food. You know, I know I'm a nerd, but stuff like this makes me really excited. It's ridiculous, I know, but whatever. You guys are watching the video, so you're nerds too. All right, so I got the food right here mixed up in a slurry. I got it mashed up as much as I possibly can, as fine as I can, as small particles as I possibly can, and I'm just gonna dump it through the tank. And hopefully they will filter feed through it. And hopefully they will filter it out. It is spreading everywhere. The fish will like it too, and then it's good for them. So So one thing I wanted to show you guys is that these colonies here of the zoas were all doing really terrible. They were all sunken in and they weren't out because they were just smothered with vermetid snails. So what I did was I went in there and I manually removed as many vermetid snails as I possibly could by just breaking them with my finger and with like a tool. And ever since then, things have looked so much better. Things are actually out. Now there's still vermetid snails here on the rockwork. You can see the little stupid slime trails or whatever that is that's out there. But that's because we chum the water. But the zoas are doing so much better ever since I gave them space and gave them real estate. Much better. We definitely got a feeding response for all the snails in the aquarium. They got their little streamers out trying to catch the food, so that's pretty easy to do. Anytime there's a little bit of stuff in the water, they're pretty active, so it's pretty easy to get them to react to food in the water. So it's just a matter now of them grabbing whatever particles they could possibly grab and bringing it in and eating it, and hopefully by doing that it will kill them. I'm just kind of going all through here. You can see there's a couple there that have grabbed some of the food and are pulling it in. But there's just so many throughout this tank. Wow, they're just covered. Yeah, this needs to work because I don't want to have to manually go through here and break all these stupid things, because that is not fun. And that's just basically keeping them in check. That's not even trying to get rid of them. Oh, look at this. Look at that. That one right there has caught a little piece of the food. That's so cool to see. Look at that. And he's pulling it in. He's like reeling it in like a fishing rod or something like that. Look at that. He's got it. That's so cool. He caught that from way far away and he's just reeling it in. Sorry about the camera work. Look at that. He's got it. So for sure we see one that got one. And that's probably happening throughout the whole aquarium right now. That's so cool. So he's got that flake food. That's a big piece. It's a big piece he's got. He's going to take the whole thing in. Oh, man. Oh, I really hope this works, because they're definitely reacting to the food. So if this food can kill them, this is a game changer. And the best part about this is, like, nothing's going to waste. Like, the fish, it's safe for the fish to eat. You know, all the other little critters will eat it. And it shouldn't do them any harm. I'm hoping that it doesn't affect the tank that much. This tank is just so beautiful, and we're so close to getting it to where we want to get it. And the main problem we're fighting right now is just these vermetid snails. And if we can get these under control, we're good to go. If you look over here, again, this one caught it. It's pretty impressive how that little that slime net that they cast out can catch, how effective it is at catching particles in the water. You wonder how these things eat. I mean, this is a pretty effective way of doing things. And again, look at this. We're up close and we see it. It's pulling it in. So all in all, I think I'm pretty happy with the reaction to it all. I'm happy with the way the food was taken in by the vermetid snails. Now it's just a matter of, does the medication work? More vermetid snails catching the flake food. This stuff is definitely working, so they're able to catch it. So another way to manage vermetid snails is to feed a lot less. This goes the same principle as dealing with aptasia. If you feed a lot, or if you have a lot of fish in your aquarium, and there's a ton of fish waste, there's a lot of particles of food in your tank, you're going to increase the amount of vermetid snails in your aquarium and aptasia. So if you start to see 1 or 2 aptasia or 1 or 2 vermetid snails, number one, try to kill them as soon as possible, but also really monitor your feeding and be more direct with your feeding. Maybe lay off the coral food, so any type of fine particle foods like a reef or a coral gumbo or something like that. Lay off it for a while until you can get a handle on your aptasia issue or your vermetid snail problem, because like I said, the more detritus, the more food that's in the water column, the more these things will just explode and just get out of control really quick. And it can go from like 0 to 100 like really fast. But speaking of aptasia, I'm going to another customer's house after this who's had a pretty bad aptasia outbreak for a while, and we've been trying to manage it. There's only so much you can do in a lot of these saltwater aquariums. You can do burgias, but a lot of times burgias get lost through the filtration and stuff like that. I'm going to kind of show you what we're doing and how we're approaching that right now. And let me know what you guys think. There's still a couple things I want to work on with this tank. We just took it over recently, and it's a process, but just to share with you part of that process of dealing with the aptasia. So we've been dealing with the aptasia and then the display tank here, but there's a ton in the refugium in the sump area. And I mean, it's all right there, look at that. It's all on the glass, and I've been taking it out manually, but that's, you know, I'm here once every 2 weeks. It's just you're not able to keep up with it. But what I did do is we took let's see if I can get it on camera right there. Ooh. Took that aptasia eating fowl fish and we're keeping them here in the sump. This little refugium section, and he's not being fed, you know, his mysis and brine shrimp like that. We're really focusing on trying to get him hungry enough to where he'll start taking care of his aptasia. So he's only been in here for 2 weeks, and I haven't seen an increase in aptasia, but I also haven't seen a significant difference in the amount of aptasia that's still left in this tank. So in 2 weeks he hasn't been fed, so he must be surviving off of this, otherwise he wouldn't be here right now, right? So he must be eating some type of aptasia. It's just growing crazy quick. But I think in about 2 months is when I'll really start to notice if he's doing anything at all with the aptasia. But that's how we're treating this right now. It's just a temporary solution to kind of just minimize the amount of aptasia, and we'll keep him down there until we can get a handle on what's in here. Now, it's throughout the whole tank, right? Like, so the aptasia is all on this side. It's probably in the return, it's in the filtration, it's in the piping, it's everywhere. But, you know, take care of it in one spot and just try to minimize it as much as possible. Being that it's already in the tank, there's really no way to get rid of it completely without restarting the tank. So you just try to find natural ways to take care of it. So I am back now here at the shop. I dosed the medication to the vermetid snails. I'm about to show Tommy the videotape that I took while I was there of the vermetid snails actually catching the food and bringing it in. So we know that they're taking and receiving the food.
Hey, all right.
So now we wait. So I'm really excited. Tommy's the one who found the food. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? How likely is it to work?
Well, if you can trust Chris Meckley and the folks over at Top Shelf, it works really well. So we're gonna peer review this.
All right, this is our first testing tank, so I'm excited, and I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop. Going forward, this will probably be a continuation because it's probably not going to happen overnight. This will probably take a couple of treatments and maybe even longer to see results. I don't know. I'm there at the customer's house in 2 weeks, so I'll probably make another video in that time span. So thank you guys so much.
Do you know what vermetids ate like, did you find them again?
I videotaped this, so I know exactly where in the tank they are. So
okay, so we can check those ones.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so
sweet.
It's a fun little science experience. See if this food is worth its weight in gold. Well, let's see if it's gonna work, and I'm excited about it. I don't know. I was unreasonably excited about using this food. It's weird. I hate vermetid snails. All right, see you later.